And we're live.
Woo! And just like that, kicks off another episode of the ADHD Express podcast. Just going to take a minute and welcome everybody who joined us live. I guess we didn't advertise this, so nobody knows yet, but they're going to tune in soon enough. And if they watch this later on, I want to say hi, live people. So, I'm Brian, your host, and today we've got a great episode planned for you guys. We've got a very special friend and a very kind of inspiring person. Andrea Roylance is with us, who is also known as Darby Briar. She is a published author. And many other things. And so, as usual today, you guys, I've got Joe and Daniel with us.
Hey, hello.
And then Andrew, why don't you go ahead and say hi to everybody and tell us a little about yourself.
Hi, thanks so much for having me on the show. I'm Andrea, also known as Darby Briar. I am an author, creative. I design things too. I'm a mortgage loan officer. I'm a mom. I have 2 kids.
Wife.
A wife. So many things, and yeah, I love talking about, especially my books and I don't know, I guess my life, and we talked about the ADHD and what role that plays.
Yeah, so that's honestly a good one, because the last couple ladies that we've had on here did not suffer from the ADHD. In fact, one of them was my therapist, who's helping me try to deal with my ADHD. So that's going to be a good episode. You'll really like that one.
That sounds... That's just your repertoire right there alone sounds insanely spread, but all over the place. Do you have ADHD?
Yeah, I mean, it's never been diagnosed, but everybody in my family, my mom, she always was like, oh yeah, I definitely have it. My kids bring it up. We all say that we have it. I mean, it's kind of obvious in a lot of the ways that I just operate in life, but at the same time, when I need to focus, it's like I can, I may go down like a big rabbit hole, but I won't.
Yeah, you have to find
the rest of the world.
Well, so what it is you've learned how to tap into your ADHD superpower, which is to hyper focus on something.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely have that way. There's just days like an example is I woke up one day and I had a dream about a new book, a plot, totally in my head. It was based in Italy, and so I got up and I started researching, and I found this cathedral. It's going to be about a gargoyle.
Okay.
That is asleep at the time, in stone. But a family comes, and it's going to be kind of more of a young teenager, romance, because you'll have this single mom who moves in with the 2 kids, like a little boy and a teenage girl, and the girl, is going to be the heroine. Anyway. This whole plot just kind of awakens in my head, and I am ready, and I come down and I plot it and I research Italy and all these places. And then that night I go out with a friend, like I have to break away because I've been on it all day. I've been going with everybody. My husband brought me food, like everything. And I go out to dinner with Angie Berry and
very well.
And Tracy. We went country line dancing, made the husbands dance and everything. And Angie invites me to Italy. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to say yes. Like, I'm going to go.
That's awesome,
like, my husband's like, you can go. It's his birthday and our anniversary, but he's...
That's cool. Wow.
And then I find out, like, beyond that, we're going to Italy. The place that I had placed my book, we're going to go and visit because her friend has a house there.
Oh,
she's going to let us stay for 3 days.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I tell my family, and they say that our family is originally from that place exactly.
No kidding.
So I did the research, and sure enough I did. So it's like, okay, now did I go down the tunnel vision, and did this happen because I'm just a writer and that happened, or were my ancestors like
Hey.
Well, so honestly, hang on though, I feel, and we actually feel, because as we've talked about doing this podcast and this social media nonsense stuff that we've been trying to do, as you kind of look at those things, as the paths open before you, doors are just opening. That's basically what you're telling me, is I'm hearing that, I had this idea, and then a whole bunch of doors just opened down this pathway, right? So that's, it really is.
It's almost like being open, like in your mind and in your heart or whatever, to doing that and then following it. And my biggest thing is following through, with it, because I have this plot and I have these ideas, and I think it will be epic, but it's like, okay, but I have so many other projects. It's like, okay, when do you sit down and when do you write this book and when do you, finish it and get it out? But I do believe that it's not just, it could be a seed in my head that just pops, I don't know, but I feel like there's somebody else kind of,
There's an outside direction.
exactly. So,
Yeah, that's cool.
It'd be that way. Like,
be that way
sometimes
sometimes.
it just can't happen, right? No other way.
It's like, do you know of the law of attraction?
yes, exactly. Yeah.
It's literally that. Like,
If you're open to it, then
yeah.
things will come your way. That same thing happened with a story in Ireland, because I love the Tuatha De Danann.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I love the
okay.
history
The Irish
behind
deities.
Celtic
Yeah.
culture. Yes, I love it. So I before I even researched it again, I had kind of this plot come to me, and it was more like an epic fantasy series that will feature mainly male characters that will become kind of that king or the godhead
Yeah.
again. And this whole time they've been kind of exiled to an island. So the actual, under the hill is kind of in a dystopian state. And that these kings will kind of, come back because it's being ruled by, evil forces, whatever.
Wow, okay.
Well, that island they're exiled to is, in a way, the island of man, and what people think the island of man is something else, but it's the real one that's protected by, like, shielded by, a different god. Anyway, that's again where my ancestry, when you do the research, they're from. Like, it exactly
Cool.
mentions in my ancestry the island man, but I only find this out after the fact, and so for me, I do feel like,
That's
you're
cool.
just kind of open.
Very
to
cool.
influence.
I've never bothered to do any of the ancestry stuff. I think it would be interesting though.
Yeah, it is kind of. I guess you connect it too.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of.
I still want to
and it
find
has
out I'm
more
related to like
meaning.
Hitler or something awful. Like, so there's like some things that I'm just like, like my family, we were looking at my social security card and like it's totally different than everybody else's. And my wife, my kids are like, is it a fake? Your parents like, are you not real? It's like at this point in my life, I'd just be like, whatever. But we turned out that mine is just I had to get a copy because my original was trashed.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why it's different. I'm a real
You
boy.
got the special.
Yeah.
But I found out last year because of in the mortgage industry, you have to get your license.
Yeah.
And I found out that my real name that I've always thought was my real name is not. I don't have a middle name, I guess. My middle name is Dee, but I was born at McCavey Hospital, and they thought it was a typo. And so my birth certificate does not have my middle name on it, and because it doesn't, nothing else can nowadays.
Right.
Because now they track everything nowadays, and everything has to have documentation. So we had always, on my mortgage license, had my middle name, and it had to be removed.
Wow.
I told my mom I was really upset.
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
That's insane.
She's like, just go change it. I'm like, no.
Too much
I'm just gonna be
paperwork is
upset.
involved with that?
Yeah.
Backside.
So I mean, and I had to write this big old explanation letter because they really wanted to know like why I'm just finding this out when I'm 45.
Right.
Yeah.
You're like, well,
Like back in the day, they just didn't. You said your name was this, and
that's what they put. Yeah, nobody cared.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
so
That's really funny. Are we still working? Is it going?
Oh yeah, I was
Okay.
just switching over the chat.
Cool. Oh, I see. Yeah, enable chat on the live. Cool. Yeah, that's so funny. That is really funny. Yeah, it's weird the different things that come up.
I'm very curious.
Mhm.
Okay, so there's the famous thing of, do you think in pictures or do you think in like an audio log? You have been describing some great stories, and like you build these things all the time. Do you think when you think of those stories in pictures, or is it more of a
it's a movie. It's a movie inside my head that's actually like cinematic thing happening. Especially when I listen to music, I think that's the biggest inspiration for me. I can listen to a song, and even though I'm driving, and I'm driving on the road, and there's no problem with my driving, but there's it's almost like how I can do the two things at once, I don't know, but it is a whole movie going on inside my head that I am, jotting down or whatnot when I get home. But yeah,
that's amazing. So you
I see
experience
scenes.
it fully, and then you write down your experience of it afterwards.
Mhm.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and then when I'm not listening to music, that's kind of the more audible, like the more audio is happening, what they would say to each other in that moment. As I re-listen to maybe the song or go through the scene, then I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's that, emotion they're saying and how would they talk. I feel like dialogue is one of those things that I do. I just talk like they I feel like I talk in dialogue how I imagine my characters would talk, raw and all. And I don't know, you've read the book, so
Yeah.
you
Hang on, just so that we know, we're just going to give you all the shot. Is that kind of
yeah,
okay?
sure.
You sure? Like
Yeah, go
we're
for it.
promoting it, right?
No,
So
yeah.
this is actually one of her books. So this is the one that my wife and I read, and we read it together. And if you start reading this, you'll understand why you need to have your intimate partner with you. It'd be a little inspiring to Burning Ember. And so by Darby Briar. So this was a really good read. It was really well written, and it's a long book. It's a good one. It's not going to finish it.
Yeah,
fast.
it's a long book. I definitely I love epic tales, and for me, I could have cut it down. There are, even now, I think I look back on it and I think, oh, maybe shorten this part. But I love that, because I'm trying to introduce you to a whole crew, right? A whole family of characters, because the series will go on. It's just that it takes time to do so, and to do so, like, I guess you need to take the time in a book to do so, and do so well. When you want that kind of depth, and you want people to know at least I feel so. You want your people to know your characters that well, and kind of their background and their hurts and their trials.
Yeah.
But yeah, it takes time to do so. So I
Yes,
don't know.
it does.
I don't know that I can write a short book.
Well, no kidding. And honestly, even hearing you talk about that, it makes me think back to the own book that I'm writing, and I'm like, oh man, I probably need to give some more like depth, not just, hey, we started this business.
Yeah.
And then a SWAT team showed up and it was awful.
No, I take a lot of time to, and that's maybe why the Lost Lyrebird has taken a while, is I couldn't connect with Goose, who is the main character in that story. His backstory didn't make sense to me, and I just didn't know that wasn't connecting. I just wasn't feeling it as deeply. I knew Lily from way beyond, and that's the heroine. I knew her story, but his there's that disconnecting because you can't identify it, don't really know what it is, and you can't really find the way to change it. Then it was almost like it prohibited me from really writing the story with any depth. I don't know if this connects, but my dad passed away in October, and he's very much like this character and like my husband, very calm, very relaxed, very chill, but he's also like, kind of rogue alpha, where he doesn't need anybody's approval. He's has his own wounds, but he's not going to tell anybody about it. He'll just live in silence. So Goose is very much that way, and I found him. I found him in whole, and it took me writing his beginning before he even met Lily, some of it, to discover his story and find that connection. So, and now that I have, it's like it runs. You can just run with it and write.
It is a completely different feeling of while you're going through it.
Yeah.
Just fetching at the air, right?
Yeah. Because when it connects, it's like it writes itself. You're sitting down and you very much know that person. You know what they're saying. You know how they feel. So you know how they react. Yeah.
I love that. We were talking a few weeks ago about a stroke of genius. It sounds like she's having you're having the stroke of genius where all of the pieces are there for you to fit together, and you're able to put them together to manifest something that
finally, but my readers they've all been dying waiting for the next one, and I disappeared for a little while because of that, and needing to raise my kids. That's amazing. But so now that I have, and it's almost out and it's nearly finished, they're like, okay, well, why did it take so long? And that's really part of it, is I couldn't connect with them. I didn't know their story in full, and so I couldn't write it. So yeah. Which it kind of sucks, but I just wasn't able to give it the time and attention it needed to be this kind of a book.
That's amazing.
Yeah, well, and it seems like there's a lot more that goes into it. Like with the content stuff, we've learned like there's a lot more behind the scenes that goes into it. That I guess it's different for a book, but like you have to have the understanding of that character so you can build how they portray themselves and how they act, and like a lot of those little things that. When you're reading it, it's just kind of like, oh, that's how they are and that's how they act. But that's all intentional.
Yeah, like it is. How do I explain this? In a way that makes sense with these sides out, in my head. for Goose, as an example, I always knew that he had a brain injury. I always knew that he couldn't remember certain things, but I didn't understand kind of like I had to write that whole scene that it actually happened, and I had to write him before he had that and what he acted like, and
Wow.
and I had that it was losing his mom that was this epic kind of trial for him, but it didn't match, it didn't fit. And so realizing that, he never had a mom around to begin with, but really it was his dad that was just him and his dad, his whole world that he took care of and that he lost. I feel like just finding that connection and why it meant so much to him and why he is the way he is, because he was raised by a single dad,
Yeah.
So it did then make sense, especially caring for somebody and going into the military for him so that he could afford to pay for his dad's care. And then also being gone so he couldn't actually care for him himself, things like that. So I think that I just take it a step further. Like I want to know him that much deeper. They're a real person to me, and I think if you like with Burning Ember, like Maverick, I really developed his character, and I love the way he goes from absolute a-hole, and that's why it's Burning Ember. Is because it's all for me. It's always symbolism.
Yeah.
So he's burning her with his words, his looks, his touch, all of that stuff.
Yeah, right.
And he really is just this biggest a-hole, and he is a saint. Like by the end, he is an absolute saint, and the guy that you would just like pay him out. You know what I mean? It's just he's amazing. So
it's so cool. It's so cool that you put so much into these. Like no one will ever see it behind the scenes, but like you're starting to paint the picture for me, and I'm absolutely loving it.
Well, it makes it to where you don't maybe get books out as fast as other authors do, so you have to accept that and move on. But it is more, I think, about being able to be a perfectionist in the time that I need it to release in a way that I'm proud of, in a book that I can stamp my name on and be like, okay, this is my book. And all its big glory.
Yeah, it's awesome, dude. I love it. I know here I am strong. I'm like, dude, how am I going to hit 100,000 words? But like listening to you talk all of a sudden, I'm like, that's how. Yeah, just work on it.
Just knowing them and stuff. And I have a storyboard on my TikTok. I did kind of like give people a glimpse of it.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's a huge
we'll have to make sure we reference your TikTok on here and stuff.
Of this motorcycle club. And I have little pictures for every single person. And the main ones, I have more than one picture. I have characters in my head, so I found pictures of either actors or, models or, I don't know, people that they look like, and I put them on my storyboard. I have tattoos, and I went on Pinterest and found all of these little clips of things that match who they are personality-wise, clipped into my storyboard, wrote things out, how people connect, their relationships. So that really keeps me to where I know every single one of them. And then I'm able to share them in my writing a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because, I easily can look up and I know what's going on. But, it's a whole real place inside my head.
Yeah, that's cool.
I love it. I feel like I build those a lot on, because you do the same thing in a video.
On D&D and whatnot. My son does that with, D&D. So.
Oh, I love D&D. D&D is a fun game just because of that storytelling fact too. Sometimes I feel like that one conspiracy meme though, where it's the one guy from Always Sunny in Philadelphia pointing at the papers. But that's building a story, because at the end of the day, you're molding attention, right? You're taking someone on a journey, and that journey is as beautiful as you want to make it. Yeah. And that's why people read your books, right?
I hope so, yeah. I mean, for me, I think I wanted to be an author, and I just had these stories exploding inside my head that it was like I needed, to get them out. And I want people, I think, to read it, and even though like you get kind of those connotations of smut or this, and it is that, I had a realtor tell me she had to go roll in the snow after reading.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, can I read you guys the funniest excerpt out of the book, in my opinion?
The funny excerpt.
The funniest excerpt right here. It says, Please, even if you are a personal friend, if you are offended by the word fuck or graphic sex, then put the book down now.
I had to do that in case my ads picked it up. I'm like, really? Already when I was beta reading, and I sent it to my sister, she was like, this just swears too much for me. And so I'm like, okay, I'll take out the F word. So I put EFF and resent it to her.
That's funny.
And so she read it, and it was funny. But my mom read it, and that was kind of embarrassing. But my stepdad's just like, just ignore that it's your daughter that wrote it. She's like, I don't know if I can.
That's really funny. Yeah. That's honestly like some of this, like doing the podcast stuff, like it's similar because like I don't know if you watched, if you go back a couple episodes and watch John Bennett's podcast, you might actually enjoy that one, just kind of some of his take on spirituality and stuff like that. It's kind of, and he's really into the old gods and stuff like that. And he, you know,
he's still on the tattoo artist?
Yeah. So that was pretty, in fact, we did 2 with him because people hated him. I mean, that's when we got a lot of negativity on that. I was like, we better do that again. But it was like one of those things my wife is like, my mom's going to watch this. And I'm like, I know, but like, it's not my belief. It's not my opinion. It's his. Like, he's a guest. We were here just to talk about the differences of people.
Right.
If, like, they're offended by somebody who believes differently than them, well, then they have a big problem. Like, you know, because guess what? The world is full of people who believe differently than you. So you can't make everybody happy. You're going to offend some people. And
yeah, and I very much care what people think, but as I grow older, that's dying.
Yes, it should. I got a birthday card.
I wish it would almost die faster because
I will take care of it next year. I'm going to send you a birthday card. I'm just going to get a copy of the one that I got this year. And it says that I'm old enough to officially have given all of my F's away and I no longer have any to give. And it's like, so now you can enjoy the rest of your life not giving up.
I have a sticker and a shirt that both say that.
Yeah,
you know.
And it's kind of funny because I got that card and I'm kind of like really great. Jen Lumen sent it to me and I'm kind of like really grateful because I was like, wow, I honestly feel like I have permission now. Like, I don't know what it is about, because I think she's a year older than me or whatever. And so like, I'm like, nope, one of my elders gave me it from she's in the community. She's a prominent member of the business. Like, yeah, nope, she gave me permission. And it was funny because my wife is, that's why I'm like, my employee's leaving. The guy's been with me 8 years. And I'm just like, oh, well. And then people are like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'll just do the inspections that I can do. What are you going to do? Because that's the real question.
Yeah.
If you don't have me in Dordesh Street, you've been counting on us for a decade. Like, I'm sorry, but like, I'm not. Yeah, I'm just going to do me.
Well, and I just have to, I mean, even with writing, because I thought about, writing the next book after Burning Ember is Lost Firebird. And people have been waiting for that. So I thought, well, is that the book I want to write, though? Or do I want to write something like everybody could read that
Sure.
that I could,
absolutely.
hand to my aunt that's religious and be like, yeah, you can read this and look, aren't you proud of me? I'm a writer.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm like, okay, but is that what I want to
write?
Right.
No, and it is. You're too old to care about what other people think. I'm sorry. There's in fact, we had another podcast, Joe Rinder Connects. That's launched.
Yeah, I did.
So he talks about because his brother died, and then he had kind of like the preconceived notions of what everybody wanted him to do, and then when his brother died, he was like, nope, not happening.
Made his own choices.
Yeah, and he just lives for himself. And it's fine. I mean, not like he has a family and he's responsible and takes care of his stuff. But like, no, they're trying to live for themselves. He's trying to do what he wants. And like, there's a lot of people who do that, but most of us are not doing that.
No.
And that's part of what this whole podcast is about. This is a vlog of us trying to show people that we're going to do that because everybody says you can do it. We're like, cool, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And this is the record of us doing it.
I released Burning Ember, and then I did A Christmas Story with Chaos, and that was the year later, and I did Audible on both of them. So after I published them, I spent some time doing the Audible, but I almost had a breakdown because I wanted to quit doing my job, and I wanted to just write. And I went and saw a counselor, and I was just like, I'm really trying to decide because here's my career that I've worked so many years to build a business, and I'm good at it, and I love doing it. But at the same time, like, this is my passion. This is my talent that I feel like, God sent it down to me. And so it's like, what do I do? Because I feel doing this 25% and this 25% and being a mom and a wife, I'm not doing anything great,
Right. As good as you want to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I can't push books out as fast, that kind of thing. And she's like, well, which, because I'm worried about wealth for the family. I ended up making the decision to stay with mortgage and almost put writing behind the scenes because everybody says, well, just put it in your free time. Writing I don't feel like it's that way. Like,
No,
you
that's
know,
not. It's work. You're working. I mean, it's fun, but it's working.
you are
Yeah.
dived into it, but at least for me, I am
Mhm.
dived in, and it's an obsession, and you know, and like I wanna, and being called, especially the job that I do have as a loan officer, you're always on call. You're getting calls all the
Yeah.
time, especially back in those years. It was like my phone was ringing. I was at a soccer game taking an application. You know, 10 o'clock on a Sunday night, somebody's texting me, whatnot. So I just didn't feel like the two would mesh ever. And I ended up, putting writing behind me. And sometimes I feel like that was a regret. It did help me with my family and kind of raise my kids and you know, be off,
Mhm.
I don't know, dedicate time to them. But now I'm very much faced with that decision again of what to do. And now it's like the mortgage thing, because it's such a slow industry, is taking the behind the scenes, and
Yeah.
my creative and whatnot is coming forward.
Well,
So-
pour the gas on it so that becomes it.
Exactly. I need to make that decision of, you know, write full time and or be a mortgage loan officer. I love doing the loans that come in and the people that refer me loans, and helping the clients, because that's not a hardship to share what I know
Sure.
and help people
Right.
buy a home. But I love to,
Yeah. Right.
and I do want to, you know, just dive into it. I think it's always that my mom was a single for a long period of time. She was a government employee for 30 something years. She wants that stable life and always encourages me. And there is a part of me that's constantly like she'll tell me to stick with it, you know, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
honestly, I hate to say it, but that's just not how things are anymore.
Yeah,
Like the companies don't take care of them like they used to. You're
Well,
disposable, and that's where you have
and
to
if you
remember.
push hard enough into your passion and you're good at it, then I think you'll succeed.
Sure
It
you
just
will.
may
Oh,
take
no,
time and
absolutely.
you may face hardships.
That's what all of the people who have made it say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
100%.
You have to push through. Yeah.
If you just keep pushing into it, you'll make it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to think. There's some Olympic athlete, and they talk about if you want to become the best in the world at something, like all you have to do is spend like a certain amount of time every day practicing it.
it
It doesn't
was
take you very
the-
long.
It was Michael Jordan. No, it was there was a basketball player that had the number of hours it took to become a professional.
It was like an hour a day for a year, and you're better than 90%
Of the
or
world,
something like
right?
that.
Yeah, it was something crazy like that, and that's kind of like those are the things like that we're all trying to say is like you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were talking before the show. You know, for those of you guys who are listening and watching, like I've been focusing so hard on the ADHD social media, trying to grow it from 0, which now we're at what 200 some odd people. That I didn't notice that my personal went from 700 to over 1100 in that same amount of time.
Yeah.
I had no idea that I was looking at the other day. I'm like, wait a minute, where did I get so many people?
Mhm.
Like, kind of crazy.
That's awesome. Yeah, no. I feel like for me, I've done a couple videos on my TikTok and whatnot, and finally talking, you know, about why it took so long and about my characters and my storyboard.
Mhm.
And it's different. Like they always encourage us to do with mortgage loan officers is to get in front of the camera and talk about loans. There is something that's prohibiting me from doing that.
Oh, dude, it's hard.
But when
Yeah.
I do it and I'm talking about my books, I almost get carried away. Like it's too hard for me to do it under a certain time frame because I'm just like,
When you feel or
Yeah.
it's the ADHD. It's when you feel. So, are you on TikTok? Is it Darby Briar? Or is
yeah,
it, okay.
I think it's Darby Briar author. And then my other business, that one's just launching, but Romanticality is, and that is actually the art of being a romantic is what I named it after. So it's an actual word, even though you have to kind of Google it. But
I like your hair there.
yeah. Oh, thanks.
That looks
When it was
nice.
all long, yeah, I chopped it off and regretted it the second I did
Oh,
it.
I'm sorry. Well, I didn't mean to make you fit. Damn it! That's why you don't say stuff, fellas. Keep it to yourself.
I think there was one person that commented and said they liked my hair.
What's that?
There was somebody because I mentioned I cut it and I didn't like it, you
And
know.
somebody was
a
like,
video
"Oh,
and,
yeah."
and they mentioned
It does look.
I
It looks
really
nice. So I just
appreciated
was.
the comment.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so I'll eventually grow it back out. But
That reference was by Malcolm Gladwell, and the full quote is the idea that it is not born but created, practiced, and executed. It takes 10,000 hours of a
Yep.
guided practice to become masterful.
Well, and that does take longer than a year. That's a long
It's
time. That's
8 hours a day, 5 days a week, for 40 to 50 weeks a year for 5 to 7 years to hit 10,000.
To be a master,
I
right?
believe it, because even with writing, you can see if you read a debut author, or maybe you can even see it in my book, how the further I get into it, the better my writing is, and
Yeah.
even coming, because I've been writing this whole time, just different, different things, and even with Lost Lyrebird, like writing here and there, but I feel like the more I'm just purely focused on it and writing, and maybe for days on end, months on end, the better it gets and the better I get at doing it. So yeah, and I'm going to school at night.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm getting my creative writing degree. I'm about like 9 months off,
Wow.
9, 10 months. But yeah, I mean, all those things, I just wanted to write more eloquently. I wanted to, not for a biker series, it doesn't have to be eloquent, but I did want
But it's also
to,
important, I think. It still needs to, yeah, it
sentence
is.
structure, things like that. So I just wanted to improve and take this, further. So,
Yeah. That's so cool. It's so cool. It's so inspiring, man.
Yeah.
Right? And like,
yeah,
here
I
you
don't
are.
sleep.
Yeah. Well, that's an ADHD. We all decided that before you guys joined us, we were talking about that. And she was like, we introduced her, which again, they don't even know about this yet because we haven't released the podcast. But we introduced her, but so the live people can hear about this, but we introduced Andrea to the Doom pile.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so that was kind of thing. She's like, wait, that is me. And then she's like, well, and I don't sleep. And we're all like, yeah, sleep's kind of a thing around here. It's like I got 15 hours last week, I think.
I know. Well, and the blue light is a real thing that will just like keep you up.
Yeah.
When I come out here at night, I actually switch all these to red.
Wow. Yeah.
So like when I'm out here chilling, I red light out here and.
Well, my son's always like not been able to sleep at night, and I finally realized now that I've been staying awake because I've been creating stuff or writing, that the blue light, like, it makes it to where I'm not tired. It can be 4 a.m. and I'll be like, okay, time to go to bed finally. So yeah, I do have to shut it down a little bit earlier, and that was really when it was super slow in December. I wasn't getting much sleep. So
I understand.
then I'd wake up and cry.
I know, right? Yeah.
Out of curiosity, what books, like, did you have any books when you were younger that really made it so that you wanted to write? Any like inspiration books that stick out to you?
Okay, so funny
Hustler.
story.
Stories.
Yeah, I did.
No, are you serious?
I didn't read.
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
read when I was young. Books never. I don't remember it being a thing. Like I don't remember my mom. I'm sure we had books, but no, it was the Da Vinci Code exploded my mind.
Oh.
I was in my 20s. I was a single mom, living by myself in Providence.
Yep.
I had one of those little Spring Creek townhomes, and I read the Da Vinci Code, and I really just blew my mind, and it just popped from there. I'd always thought about writing, but I didn't do well in English in high school. So what I did is when I eventually started writing, I joined the Romance Writer Association, the national one. I joined the Utah chapter. I took because different chapters all over the world, and there were so many back then.
I didn't know that was a thing, yeah.
Yeah, it is. There were so many, and they offered classes from other authors, that would be your teacher during a class, and you could take it on story building or character, or plot, anything. You could take it on, English, punctuation, things like that. So I took every single one I could. I learned everything I could from everybody. I think I was just kind of this sucker for knowledge, which I am right now too.
Yeah.
I've always been this person that loves challenges, and I built my knowledge, and I read like crazy, and I probably read about 500. I told you guys, like, I think last year it was like 563 books a year. So it came from there, because this one came out in 2015. So I just kind of built my knowledge from reading and from learning from others.
And grew and ran from there.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
and I think that's why I wanted my creative writing degree, is because to me I need that stamp. You know what I mean? I needed that I finally reached that level, because I didn't do it in high school. So
no, that's all good.
Stamp
My mom was an English major, and so I kind of feel like I always had a really good grasp on that. And now the problem is they always they're like, don't go fix punctuation stuff. I'm like, well, I don't want to read through the whole thing and do it. I'd rather do a paragraph at a damn time.
Yeah.
But I think that slows me down. And it's not even the right story yet, so I need to realize that.
we had a realization that was crazy recently. He keeps telling me a stat about the internet and how people read, like the percentages of people that you got it.
There's 40% of people read below a 6th grade reading level.
Really?
Yeah,
That's staggering.
14% of people are illiterate.
See, and that's something I would love to change. Like, I
Right.
feel like that's
They just don't read
like
because they
you
don't
said,
have the book they need
yeah,
to read.
when
They,
Yeah.
if you
they
could find the right
just need
books,
the
they're
right
amazing.
book, and it opens up a world inside their head, and then they're not, like, I sit down with my daughter, or, she's the hardest one, and I'd be like, okay, read for 20 minutes, and things like that. I never want it to be that. I want it to be, okay, if this is, painful for you, let's find a different book. We finally did there was an ape, Joe and something.
Oh yeah. I got somebody doing it. I
It
can't think of
has
the
to
title.
be a fictional, like a realism, almost like animals or people. It just has a little teeny bit of fiction. It can't be too fictional, like
Right.
Divergent.
Yeah, I love a
love
good
that.
divergent.
So for her, it's a little bit more that. But then I have my middle child, my son. I call him my angel baby.
Mhm.
My other kids hate that. But my angel baby Connor, he's a reader, and for him it is, it's not reading.
Yeah, it's my son, and I'm grateful for that.
Mhm.
Working on my daughters, but
Yeah, my oldest is a writer. He's the one that, if he because he's the D&D, he's the dungeon master and everything on D&D. He makes up all these wonderful stories. He writes for English classes in colleges at Utah State, and he's already just a phenomenal writer. And I'm like, gosh, if I had that talent at your age, like, if I had the education that you have and kind of that knowledge, I could be even a better writer.
yeah.
But I'm really proud of what he is able to produce. I just wish the D&D, all these tales that he weaves, he would put it, like, monetize it and put it in a book or put it,
Put it out there
Yeah.
somewhere.
Or even on like social media. There was one, I did a home inspection for these people that had a little bedroom set up like a podcast studio, and I'm obviously interested in that. And so I was like, they had their little thing on the wall, and so I was, pulled it up, and it's a D&D podcast. Husband and wife that do it.
That's cool. Like,
Yeah, it is cool.
It really is. Like, and he's super funny. For his birthday, he made us all play as a family. We had
Oh,
to
that's
sit
cool.
down and play.
Yeah.
And
I miss playing. Like when I was younger, I never got that into it, but I had a bunch of friends that were, and they would invite me.
Mhm.
And like I always had a time of my life playing with those guys. So like I always thought it was awesome.
well, I want to break the rules every time. He's like, "Mom, you can't do that." And I'm like, "I can. My character can."
Yeah.
I'm deciding right now. I'm gonna
My
write this
character
into
has
the
that
story.
ability. When he was 7, he found a magical stone in a river and bestowed his ability on it.
I'm like, you don't know that I have goddess, like, in my blood.
That's right. I'm a star child.
So does he base a lot of his stories off of the characters that are in the books? Like, because they have the books for D&D, and he probably pulls all his creatures from it.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Well, there's the
his-
D&D universe. I mean, it's kind of a R.A. Salvatore
it's like
set
a
it up with
whole
the books we were
game
talking
and,
about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I don't know if he's on there as Resurrected Son, but that used to be his name. I don't know what his handle and stuff is now, but he does he has a whole map. I mean, this thing is just absolutely intense. I don't know how he even makes that stuff. I mean, it's like down to the little details. And
Passion.
he's pretty good at it.
Passion.
He's very creative. Yeah.
Yep, if you have passion about it, you'd be amazed at what you can create. And what's funny is like when you hear these crazy stories and people are like, "Oh, that's crazy, man. You can't make this stuff up." Bullshit, you can't. Somebody made up Star Wars. Somebody made up Harry Potter. Somebody made up like Avatar. Like, no, trust me, they can make it up.
Especially, I feel like if you take out, you know what I mean? Like, what could we be capable of if you take out
All your limitations.
Yes, and the things that hold you back
Right.
from being your true creative. Like,
Absolutely.
because especially for the people that do want to, make something or create something or something passionate about,
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, if we were able to, money is not an issue. This isn't, you don't have to do this or this. I think we could be even,
More
like,
creative.
yeah, and
Well,
maybe
That's what I'm trying to do.
technology
We're trying to
and
get this
whatnot
set
would
up so that we're
raise
just
up
being
10
creative.
levels.
Yeah.
Because I think give us the time and attention instead of kind of running the
Yep.
the race people,
Trying to make
certain
other people
want us
money
to
and
do,
right.
then I think we could,
Did she
Make
just
sense.
hint at a government conspiracy?
I'm very,
She's like, it's bigger than the government.
I'm
It's
very
the
much-
Rothschilds and the Rockefellers.
I am very much like a conspiracy theorist. Well, a little bit, I guess.
Well, you have to be a little bit. I'm sorry.
My
There's a
brother
comedian
went
who has
to-
a skit about that. How
Yeah.
can you not believe in some? I mean, like, I
Some
get not
stuff.
all of them, but like, the government is not, shooting it straight and doing great. Like,
Yeah.
come on
Yeah.
now.
I'm a little bit. My brother went to Antarctica. He's going again. He
Okay.
works for a welding company.
Okay.
And he makes these huge, he's making a structure, right? So a commercial research scientific structure in Antarctica. And my
That sounds
favorite,
like, dude.
I know my
Interesting.
favorite movie
How
of
far
all
inland
time
is it?
is Signs, and so I was texting him all
Yeah.
the time. And I'm like, "Have you had to sign like a non-disclosure agreement?" Like,
Yeah.
he's like, "Just stop." And I'm like,
Right.
But I really am like,
How far inland is he? Because like Antarctica is.
they're on Murdoch, like they go to Murdoch base. So
Okay.
he and so we did all the research. Me and my stepdad are watching like all the old,
Yeah,
all the videos and whatnot, and we're about what was it, the colonel or somebody that flew over and then into the
found the hole.
no-fly zone.
Yeah.
Because why do you have a no-fly zone if it's never even been, like
There's nothing there.
anyway? That's a whole other story.
Yeah, that's
Podcast.
the hollow earth theory, right?
Yeah, like there's a hole. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the hollow.
Yeah, because
gotcha.
he writes this whole thing of what he found in this journal they found after he was passed away and stuff. But my stepdad takes me down this rabbit hole all the time because my brain will.
Sure. Oh, grab a hold of that stuff and
Yes.
imagine the
And
possibilities.
so me and him are peas in the pod when we get to discussing these things, and my brother's just like, "You guys are idiots." They can't stand it. My mom, my sister, and both my brothers are just like, shut them down.
right. That's funny. I get that. I got people in my life that are that way. They want to shut it down. I'm a dreamer. I'm a
It's hard. I don't know. It's kind of harmful when you're a mom too. My daughter would tell you because I can actually, like I said, I see everything in my mind, and it's actually a movie reel.
Mm-hmm.
So when she asked me to go somewhere, and she's a teenage girl that is just beautiful, the worst case scenario that could possibly happen is going through my head.
Right.
And then it moves
Yeah.
on to another one and another one. So I'm like, no, you can't go.
Yeah.
And she's like, you need to let loose on the reins. And I'm like, no.
Let me think about that for a minute now.
So, and I'm like, well, can I give you like a couple molds and I'll put like glasses on your face,
Right.
She's like, Mom, you're ridiculous.
You have to wear a trench coat.
Yeah.
So, thankfully, she's not into boys or anything, so I got a few more years.
How old is she?
Almost 15.
Okay, yeah.
So,
That'll change. Mine's 16 now, and it's really obnoxious.
yeah.
I
It's
love you, Haley.
Yeah, mini person that's very much like me, but we don't agree on anything.
Yep, that's my daughter. My middle one is that to me.
Yeah.
It's all right. It happens.
No, yeah, that's good. And then so she's my dancer. I've got a drum. He plays the drums for the marching band, and he's a drummer. Like the drum corps stuff, loves. And then my oldest is in college, and he's flying planes. He's in the flight program.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he finally launched. So after playing Star Wars in my basement for a while during COVID, I was terrified he was going to be 30 and still.
Oh no.
But because he had been flying since he was 16, we had put him in a flight program. And he got back to it and he launched, and the relief I felt was
Cool.
immense.
So is he working doing that now, or is he?
He's still at Utah State, so he's
Okay.
just
Gotta
going to
finish
school.
up.
He works at night. He does have a job and he works at nights
Yeah,
just
good.
for his own stuff. And except for food. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
my boys eat so much.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, so like, what authors do you like? Just in general, like, where do you actually? Better question. I want that one answered later. But better question
man.
before that is, where do you feel like a lot of your inspiration becomes drawn, or your attention is drawn, if that's a better way of putting it,
Mm-hmm.
when you're creating a story?
Music, number one, definitely is music. I think there's a main band that always, well, for my playlist, that is always for a certain book. I'll put in some other songs from others, and the playlist for each one, I don't know, is it a page or two? It's in the back.
Oh, is it really?
Do you have the playlist?
Yeah, there's a playlist
Okay.
on there. So I write a scene, a chapter, a scene to whatever song is on there, right? So if, like...
Oh, there is. I
example-
guess I didn't notice that's an actual playlist. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, what's the, let's see, Papa Roach?
Yeah, which one? Last Resort?
Last
Resort.
Resort.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm telling you, like,
Or Scars. Okay, there's Scars.
Yeah, there's Scars.
Yeah, Papa Roach, Scars.
So, let's see, is the waiting game on that one? Anyway, I very much will pick a song, I'll go
Can't
through
see
all my
Waiting
songs, or I'll just research, and especially when other authors list their playlists, I love that, because I just listen to the songs and then I try to see, even if I buy it, I download it, and then eventually maybe I'll use it for a book or whatnot, that it was it inspired me to write this scene. And so I love that they share what songs they like, and that helps me. Also, some of the oldie goodies like Papa Roach, Ex-Ambassadors is the book I'm writing now. I know that for Edge's book, which Edge was in prison during this whole first book, and he gets released, and in Burning Ember, you find out that he has been absolutely brutalized during prison. And he ultimately is I've been waiting to tell his story. I wanted to tell it from the get-go, but
Wow.
It will be number 4.
Okay.
So he takes off his jacket and his shirt in a scene in Burning Ember. And all of his club brothers see that he has just been brutalized when they've been paying for protection. And so payback is coming, and it is a big, huge thing. And Edge's book is my 3 Doors Down, and 3 Doors Down is my band.
What song?
yeah.
What song is it?
Oh my gosh, all of it. So I
Big time.
have most of their.
I still
songs
have
on there.
their couple of their CDs.
I went and saw them and I was crying
Oh my gosh, that's really funny.
My husband's like, "Are you alright?" I'm like, "I am."
That's really funny.
So Edge's story is very much that just rough, gritty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yours now, like somebody's song, heartfelt, heartbreaking. But Ex-Ambassadors, unsteady for Lost Labor. That's
steady.
exactly, because Goose is unsteady.
Yeah.
He, and she's had an unsteady life. And so, and Lost Labor, the symbolism behind that is that she's been lost. She doesn't have a past that she's ever going to claim. And she's kind of lost to the world, or people, the people that would originally look for her.
Yeah.
And he's lost her from their first connection. He can't find her, even though she's there. He can't connect the two. But lyrebird too is because she lies. She lies all the time. But a lyrebird is actually an Australian bird that performs and sings for its mate to attract its mate. And so for me, I just find these things, and I.
Bring it all in.
So much meaning, and even though other people might look at it and be like, "That's weird,"
No, it's not true. Like I said, if you're passionate about it, I feel like people see that usually.
I
And of
know.
course, there is
I hope
the world's full of trolls. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Wow. This is a killer playlist.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing too.
Lips of an Angel by Hinder. I Hate Everything About You. 3 Days Grace. One Last Breath. Creed. Scars. I'm jumping around to the ones I recognize the most.
Yeah.
Wicked Game by Stone Sour. What a wicked
Yes.
thing to say.
Such a good song.
Oh,
So I'm interested. So you listen to music when you're writing? Is that just because the emotions that you can get from the music?
Yeah. So David Farland is one person. I've read his book, $1 Million Outline. I don't even know how many times. I read it over and over, and then over and over again, and I'll make notes of the whole book. And then I'll do it again, because to me it cements it down. But he talks about emotional beats and hitting emotional beats in your writing, because it's very important that you deliver for your audience. For instance, certain males at a certain age are going to want adventure, and they're going to want romance, or this and this, right? And so he talks about hitting the emotional beats for the audience that you're writing for. for me, a lot of it's just about, writing the book I want to write.
Yeah.
But hitting those emotional beats is important, that I don't hit people with dread and angst and heartache and this. I never hit like a humorous moment, and never hit, like very tender or something. So yeah, it is part though. It's like I can almost feel that naturally, that it's like it's too much, or I need to, you know what I mean? It's like you're weaving this thing together. Yeah, that is an emotional kind of like musicality almost,
Wow.
And so I feel like in Burning Ember you'll find that, like with the Donut the dog, or with, even though Taz is a complete psycho and he does all these awful things, you also have Bodhi that is making people laugh and being humorous without going over the top. And then you have where Mav starts to soften, and he has these moments that he is, not being such an a-hole, and he does something kind. So you have these, big climax things that like hit a very much emotional, where you're at the edge of your seat. And then you have to have that, almost opposite return. I don't know.
That ease, that's the perfect description that I could think of.
Yeah,
and songs really help me, especially as I go through and I'm writing a playlist. I'm kind of looking for those emotional kind of ebbs and flows.
Yeah. Huh. I never would have thought that music would be used like that in writing.
Yeah, I love it that way.
That's a really good kind of way to think about it.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah, so like for Lost Lyrebird, because some of it happens in a strip club. He runs this club, and she is like the ultimate, dancer, but she's not necessarily there for the right reasons. And I love picking the music she's gonna dance to and writing that scene and stuff. But also, one of the first scenes that she's auditioning, and you have Bodhi as the comedic relief in the background, and I'm laughing myself as I'm
right. Sure.
And I think that's important, is that it's just like, I'm crying during certain scenes and others. So.
Yeah, like really feeling it and like putting yourself in the shoe of the reader almost while you're writing. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a different level to it for sure.
Yeah.
See, maybe I need to do that, and then I won't get my back all sore when I write about bad stuff.
Oh,
right.
Maybe I need to be crying while I'm writing it instead of crying later.
It
emotionally drains you.
Yeah, so I'll create, stuff for my website. I'll create, shirts or whatnot, or like the tarot cards I'm working on, things like that. I'll create all day long, but when I'm writing, it like my eyes are swollen, my emotions are sucked out. Like, I do kind of feel like it's just drained me more in body and mind the next day.
Yeah.
So it's almost like I take a break and then I go at it again. But I have to fill that well. It's drain the well to write, and then
Because you have to kind of put that into the book, because that's what people resonate with.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really realize they're reading a book, but there's a reason that those books are what people like.
Yeah, and at the time I wrote Burning Ember, I mean, I was already, I think, working on a different book. It was more of a, I don't know, urban fantasy, kind of werewolf stuff. I worked for a company for 10 years, and I'd lost this job. And they had started shutting down branches and whatnot. So we moved back to Utah from New Mexico. And this is where the books are set. The setting is New Mexico. So we moved back to Utah, and I put that emotion in writing the book. And now and I don't know if it takes that kind of, I hope not, because with my father passing away, like that emotion kick started writing Lost Lyrebird again in full force. And so I hope that it doesn't take that kind of emotion. But
well, it can at first.
You're putting all this kind of in you.
Yeah. You know why Jerry Seinfeld is so successful?
I don't love that show.
Well, no, I'm not talking about the show. I mean Jerry, the guy.
No, why?
Because Jerry sets out a creator block every single day to create. And we talked about this. And he gets out and he just writes stuff, writes jokes, writes stuff. And he's like, when you block out that time, and he goes, and if you sit there and you're not going to write jokes, well, you can't do anything else. So then you're just going to waste those 2 hours or those 3 hours
Mhm.
because he's kind of like set that thing up, and that's
Do
what in
it.
the industry
Yeah.
he's very respected because he kind of built that up until he just diligently every day sits down and has his creative block.
I think you almost have to, and I need to be better at it,
We all
at
will,
it for
yeah,
sure. Because I feel like before I can get to the creative stuff, if I just sat down and been like, you know what, you're gonna write for this much period of time, you can getting that out, especially first thing in the morning when you're most, kind of
Creative
busy.
and willing
I'm
to
not
do it.
stuck in kind of the real world yet,
Mhm.
And I think that's the best thing to do is to have a schedule and get the stuff that your creative stuff.
Right, get it just knocked out, and then you're kind of done. I mean, even Brant Penvidic, he was a producer for the TLC network. We met him, and he's like, nope, I do my work from 3 a.m. until 6 a.m. That's when he works.
Yeah.
We were out in the middle of nowhere at an off-grid resort in the Grand Canyon, and dude's up there at 3 in the morning sitting on the couch under a blanket doing his posts and his stuff that he does. Yeah. And then he's done for the day.
Well, and I feel like that quiet time, when the family's still asleep or when they go to sleep is, that like you have the time to
Be yourself, and just you're alone.
well, your thoughts can be more centered. Sometimes I'll read during that time, but it seems like you can really focus on stuff a little bit differently or be more effective because you're not so distracted on other things.
Yeah.
There's no dings or dings or pings anywhere around. No noise or once all of those things are shut out, especially with someone with ADHD, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there's a ding, you're guaranteed to look over at it.
Exactly. So people say, that I could write well in this or this, and I'm like, but the minute I get a text from a customer or a text from whatever, I'm down that road. You know what I mean? Like, that rabbit hole.
Yeah, and I can relate a lot because I said, here we are, we're going to do this podcast. I'm going to take a break, go run and do a home inspection, and then we're going to come back here and start making videos again of us going to the elk ranch. And so it's like, yeah, dude, I feel you. I just want you to know, like, you're not alone. I feel your pain. And I feel your pain.
Yeah. But I have to say with the Seinfeld thing, it's not that I don't love the show.
Oh, yeah.
My husband will give me a razz of crap for saying that. It's the music that pops up.
Uh-huh.
The repetitive. Yeah, that. It's something about the repetitive.
It bugs you.
Yes. And so he
That's
watched
really
it all
funny.
the time while we were dating, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I just can't.
That's funny.
Is that the same way as with Friends too? What's the Friends thing?
I can't remember. I haven't watched Friends in years since I was young.
No, I just switched to Shrek.
Great movie too.
Yeah.
Great movie too. Love Shrek.
But it's just the Seinfeld one.
Yeah. I didn't really watch Friends that much. I know that sounds super weird. My daughter's even seen it. My sister's watched it. Everybody's kind of watched it a ton of times. I think it's because I'm not I love movies and getting into something that's a really good epic movie. But series for me is really hard for me to stick that long.
Very hard to stick
Yeah.
with a series.
That's completely understandable.
I need more depth.
Do you like Game of Thrones?
Yes. I like Game of Thrones.
They did a pretty good job on that one.
Yeah.
I watched that one too, actually. Hey, what about what's the one that just came? Fallout?
Fallout.
Dude, that thing is up for a war. Have you seen it?
It's good.
Okay, I'm sorry. They did a good job.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
nothing. I never played the game in my life.
So the game, I was literally nerding out the entire time watching through.
Really? I do have to tell you that when my boys started playing, because I've got the two oldest boys.
Yeah.
When they started playing games, I bought my own Xbox and I played PUBG with them all the time
Oh, that's
because it was the
awesome.
only way I could connect with them
Yeah.
as they were growing up. And but then they started playing Fallout or these other games, and I couldn't cope because I could play PUBG because I just wanted to scavenge every place that I could.
Go collect.
Go look for stuff. Right, that's fun. That's what else we like to do naturally. That's actually no. That's why I'm a good home inspector.
I just wanted to go and pick up stuff in all these random places. And my son, would rage quit way too often, so I ended up stopping. So,
That's really funny. He would rage quit.
I don't know. There's a different level on a lot of video games because he plays a game called Apex.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Apex.
My boys have played that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he is way too good at Apex. Just saying. I watch this guy and everyone else drops it and loads into the map and then goes and gets their gear and starts fighting each other or going and hunkering down. But he's the only person I've ever watched play where he will jump into the map, grab whatever gun he sees, and immediately go hunting for people. and He's like, where are they at? Where are they at the entire game, all the way through? But I've always been more of a Fallout guy where it has a storyline, and just
That's funny.
I struggle with the storyline stuff, like that super long hours of.
Yeah, I don't know that I could stick that long with it either. And even at the time, like for me, it was, you know, to connect with the boys, and then I got interested in just hoarding stuff. But no, I used to love playing like even Super Mario, whatnot. We had like Super Mario Stars or something.
Yeah.
And it was one of the best ones. It was like Nintendo 64 or the GameCube or something. And I had 84 stars, and I was a single mom, so I would play with my little boy at the time. And one day I get on there, and they're gone. He has not lived down that moment. Like, I've been so happy.
Took your stars?
Yes, because it was the last time I put that much time into a video game to just have it deleted. I was mad.
I bet.
There's nothing that hurts a gamer more than when their save file gets deleted.
Yeah, so I feel that pain.
I can feel that. I can feel that. That's really funny.
So yeah, I razz him all the time for that.
Yeah, I would too, man. That's hysterical.
He's
That's
like, Mom,
hysterical.
come play
So-
with us again.
Has your oldest son?
Uh-huh.
Has he read it? Does he know?
No, no.
'Cause you said he's how old? 30?
He's 23.
Oh, 23.
Yeah, I was
okay.
afraid he'd be 30. He's still in the basement, but he's fine.
Okay. I
Yeah.
missed the part
He
where you
was,
said that.
he
Yeah.
was like taking a year. It ended up being 2 years off of school, and I think I was just having that whole mom like anxiety.
Sure.
Yeah, and so, but no, he launched and he's fine. But
Yeah.
he's never read it. No, none of my kids. I have to tell you the next story that they did to me. So, but they would come in my room when I was checking the Audible. So when the narrators would send me a chapter, I'd have to, listen to it and edit it, make sure it matched, my writing, my books, make sure the voices sounded right and things like that. And a husband and wife, a couple, are the ones that do the narration for it. And the Audible's exploded. It's done really, really well because their voices were amazing. Anyway, the kids would come in, and it would be right at the worst possible time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, get out of the room!
That's really funny. I mean, it's not, but it is. Now it's funny.
I mean, and they knew that I was writing a book and stuff, but I would just be like, oh, Mom, I fell. But no, I bought the story for my nieces. I bought her a romance book, and it was going to be her first one. And my sister had read it, and she's more religious than me. They're very conservative. Yeah, so I'm like, do you care if I buy her that book? Because it had soccer and it was a romance, and we both read it. And she's like, no, okay. So I'm like, for her, this is really bad when I say it out loud. For her 16th birthday, I'm like, I'm going to buy her this book. Maybe she'll love it, because she is a romance. She's me. My sister's raising me, and it's really bad.
That's funny. Yeah.
Anyway, so I buy this book, and I write in it, and so excited. It is not the right book. It is something so very different.
Oh, no.
So she's reading the back, and she's like, wow. And then she starts reading certain excerpts from inside the book. And I'm like, oh my gosh, hand me that book. I had just totally thought I had bought the right one. And I was supposed to be buying Score and Wilder by, I can't remember the author at the moment, but I bought something by Claire Contreras, I think is her name. And I love her. I think I confused the two, and one is very adult.
Yeah. Kind of more. That's really funny.
So they tease me about it nonstop.
That's a good one.
I took the book back and I said, "You can have it when you're 21. I'll buy it," and I sent her the other one.
That's hysterical.
I love it.
That's
My
awesome.
bad.
That's hysterical. I would do something like that on accident.
Yeah.
I would do that.
My sister's like, "Thanks." I'm like, "You are welcome."
I got your back. Don't you worry. Youthful scars. Let's make sure we're going to earn that therapy.
It's so funny.
Dang, that's awesome. Yeah, I guess that's true. So your siblings are not. Have they read your book? I know you said your mom did, but all your siblings?
My sister did. The one I told you I took out all the F.
Oh, that's right. You did say
I
that in the
put
beginning. Yeah.
EFF. Yeah. And she would read it that way. But yeah,
That's
she's
so
like,
funny.
yeah. So she didn't want all the F bombs, but she was the only one I was willing to
Let's see it.
remove them for.
Oh, remove them for. Gotcha. Yeah. Any of like your brother's wives, like they.
I don't think my brother's wife has read it. No. My husband finally did.
Okay.
And he was not a reader, but he finally listened to the Audible and then he read the book.
Oh, cool.
And for years he hadn't. It was only a few years ago that he actually dove into it. Anyway, I think at the time it was a little bit of a contentious thing for us. Because it's
sorry.
How could you believe in me being a good writer if you've never read my book?
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I would go to these author things or invest in writing or want the time to write, but it was like, did he really know why that was important or, why I had talent or stuff? And so, I don't know. Yeah, it's no longer a contentious thing for me because now it's like he knows it and he's read it and he's listened to it even on top, like another time. So, I don't know, like you remind me, I got all my perspective.
Yeah, that's good.
And,
I'm glad he did that for you.
Yeah,
that's important.
You feel like, okay, because he believes in me now full-heartedly because, not just because he loves me, but yeah, because of that. So,
right.
Good.
That's rad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is it really? Dang, holy cow, that was an hour. That's over an hour.
Bye.
That's just what, and it does every time. Joe's always over here. He's like, Brian, shut up. Stop talking. Well, yeah, it's fine. So anyways, well, that was great. You guys, that was really great. Thank you for sharing that journey with us, man. Especially like, as you guys all know, we like to talk about some of the hardships that these people that are successful entrepreneurs are facing. Like it's easy to look on the outside and just go, oh, it's easy for them. No, it is not.
Yeah.
You do not see the struggle. I promise you. None of this is easy. None of what you see is easy. All those cool videos you like watching online, dude, the amount of work that goes into those things.
Yeah.
It is not just a simple snap and grab and move on. So thank you for giving us your time. Thank you everybody who joined us. Thanks for watching the podcast. If you haven't already, now's a great time to subscribe. And then also go check out Burning Ember by Darby Briar. Thanks, you guys. Have a good day. They get me watching.
All right.
Camera. Is that off?